Have you ever been so impacted by something that it leaves no doubt as to what helped shape you? Welcome to The Blind Impact, a podcast where we talk about and uncover those moments. Some funny, some sad, but it's not always tragic. I hope you'll stay for a while.
Okay. Hey, Brian, are you on?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay. How are you doing today, sir?
I am doing good. I'm a little exhausted today,
Oh.
but, but I am good. I'm good. I'm here. I'm happy to be here.
Oh. Well,
Uh,
okay. I'm happy to have you on. I do appreciate that. So Brian is what do you want to share about who Brian is before we get into your story? Anything
Super.
you've done throughout your life?
Right. Well, who Brian is? That's funny. That's a good question. I am a father. I think that's my biggest accomplishment in life is being a good father.
Okay.
I've got four beautiful girls.
Wow.
So yeah, I am outnumbered when it comes to that. Definitely.
You sure are. My goodness. What are their age ranges?
Between 5 and 10.
Oh.
So they're all still young. I haven't hit that the dreaded teenage years yet.
No. But hey, at least they're all past the twos.
Yeah, yeah, the terrible twos.
Yeah.
Heck, we ours were the three-nagers when really the twos weren't bad. The when they get little attitudes. But
Yeah. Yeah. Like they really know anything about life, huh?
right, right.
Wow. That's pretty awesome. Four girls. Did you think you ever wanted any boys?
You know, I'm kind of the oddball. I wanted girls.
Hmm.
Um, I wanted my daddy's girl. So after I had two girls, I was all right. You can give me a boy, and um, it never really worked out. But I'm just trying to get them into sports. I got to get at least one of them into sports, and I think we'll be all right.
Oh, for sure. Are they showing any interest?
Only one is showing interest. My second youngest, she wants to play soccer, and
Okay.
so I'm trying to. I didn't play any sports until I got into middle school, so I'm trying to wait till they get to middle school to
Sure.
but
Yeah, that's
start
definitely
them in something.
that's not a bad age group anyways to get them in sports because like at least if they get hurt you don't have to feel as terrible about it.
Right, they're still young enough where it'll heal correctly, and
Hmm.
well,
Exactly.
in sports is good for life lessons and
Oh, I agree.
different things like that. So,
Yeah, I definitely agree for sure. For sure. Well, maybe one day you'll get that boy. But so Brian, what's your story for today?
well, I want to first shout out to Alex, buddy of mine. He's the one that was like, "Hey, I was on this podcast. My friend does it. Come check it out." And I really like what you're doing.
Oh, wow.
I have a, I actually have a podcast as well,
Oh,
and
okay.
mine's sports. I'm a big sports guy, so I talk sports, and um, I like the idea of sharing stories.
Okay.
I think that's awesome. So,
Wow.
um, my brother-in-law and me have come up with like an idea called like my Goliath,
Mhm.
and it's basically like what's your Goliath? Come tell us your stories about overcoming something in your life. So I'm going to share kind of I guess what you'd call my Goliath in my life.
Okay.
So I met my wife. I met my wife at PetSmart. We used to groom dogs back in the day,
Okay.
and I know it's a weird. A male groomer is weird
Not at
thing because
all.
when I it was funny because when I groomed dogs for almost 8 years, and I was really one of the only male groomers. But I met my wife, and we started dating for a couple years, and I asked her to marry me. And after we got married, we moved up to Utah. We got married, and she had she had visited Utah at her high school. We're both from Texas, but she had visited Utah from at high school, and she's like, I want to move up there. And I visited, and it's very beautiful up there, mountains and outdoors, and the weather is pretty fantastic. And we had basically had a honeymoon baby. We moved up there, and my mom told me, don't move up there and start having babies. So, and of course, we move up there and find out we're pregnant. And 8 months into her pregnancy, we ended up losing the baby.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was tough.
Oh.
We had a stillborn. We went to a doctor's appointment one morning, and they couldn't find heartbeat.
Oh.
And we rushed over to the hospital, and we had to have she was 8 months along, so then she had to give birth to the baby. So she gave birth to the baby, and it was very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry if I get emotional. It happened over 12 years ago, and it still hits me. You know what I mean? Still hits me, but
yeah, no problem.
I just remember in that time, like, we were able to hold her for a long time. My family actually was able to come in and hold her as well. They flew up there, and her mom and dad flew up there and was able to be there with us. And then we ended up actually moving back to Texas because most of our family's here, and we wanted support during this difficult time for us. And a year later, my wife is, because I'm Alex is always smiling and happy, right? I'm kind of the same way. I'm an optimistic person. I'm outgoing. I don't, I'm rarely in a bad mood or anything like that. So, well, a year later, I've lost all faith, all hope. I was devastated. When I was a kid, I knew, like, my calling in life was to be a good father. Like, I knew I may stink at everything else in life, but I knew my number one thing was to be a great father. Mm-hmm. So when we found out we were pregnant, I was just over the moon, and to have something so close and have it ripped away from you was devastating. Mm-hmm. But so a year later, I was angry all the time. My wife looked at me and she's like, what's going on? Why are you so, mad all the time? Why are you so angry? And I said, I'm not over losing our daughter. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, her brother was a bishop at the time. And she said, why don't you go talk to him? That's what he's there for, counseling. And so I did. I made an appointment, and I was like, what could it hurt, to go talk to somebody about it? And I ended up going to the meeting, and he's my brother-in-law. So we cried together. We talked about Christ and prayed about it. And I ended up leaving that meeting knowing that I felt the Spirit for the first time in my life. I felt like a big rock had fallen off my shoulders, and I was able to let go of the anger and the loss of hope that I had. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because at the time it happened, people would say to me, everything happens for a reason. And I despised it. I hated that saying because my brain, I couldn't wrap around what's the reasoning behind this. Mm-hmm. What's the reasoning of going through this and then having it torn away from me? But I do believe that it happened for a reason. And I do believe that instance brought me back to my faith and brought me back to Christ. And without that, sadly, it took that to get me where I'm at today. But without that, then I wouldn't be where I'm at today in life. And it's crazy to think about too, because we just got married. It could have shattered our marriage. It
Mm-hmm.
could have ended it. Something that tragic, that traumatic, right off the bat. Um, but it, with me and my wife's relationship is so special. We're best friends, and um, it just made us stronger during that time. And I don't think if I went through that with anybody else that we would have lasted. But with us together, with her, we were each other's rock. And um, yeah, so now and the baby that we lost was a girl as well. So so everyone's like, oh, you had, she was still a girl. So I wasn't meant to have a boy, but um, her name's Daphne, and
Oh,
she is in heaven waiting on us, and I'll get to hold her one day again. But
absolutely. My goodness. Goodness, Brian. Like I said at the very beginning, I am definitely sorry that happened to you, and I know you probably heard that same expression, the same sentiment over and over again. But your wife she sounds like she was your rock in the beginning, right? And if I'm wrong,
yeah,
correct me, but that's a I can't imagine. I cannot imagine something like that. And then wanting to be able to stay in a new marriage because like you say, you absolutely could have just split the two of you up, but instead it had you to grow a lot stronger together, and you were able to have so many more children, after that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Daphne's still very much a part of your family, and I don't need to tell you that, obviously, but do you feel like when you went to your brother-in-law, how were you able to like express what you were feeling at the time when you talked to him?
It was difficult. It's not an easy conversation,
Mhm.
when I was having that talk with him, he was asking about how I pray and what I
Mm.
pray about in my relationship with God, and I told him that I don't have any faith anymore, and I was never too religious. I grew up going to church, just because my mom made me or whatever, and in my teenage years I kind of drifted away, and but I still believed in Christ and God
Mhm.
and all that, but I just fell away, and then like I said, we cried together, and um, I just left there with relief, and I had like goosebumps down my spine, and uh, I just knew. I was like, man, this is something I've never felt before, and this is something more that I want. So, um, when you feel something, when you know something's right, something's good, you stick with it, and um, it was one of the best decisions I made was go talking to him, and um, you know, but
Wow. I love that you're able to get back to your roots, be able to really embrace your relationship with Christ, because that's so important. And I know that there's people out there that people are going to believe however they believe. I mean, that's not for us to judge them, one way or the other. But
right,
the fact that's where you went to seek some sort of solace and strength, I definitely commend you for that, and definitely to your brother-in-law for having your back and being able to walk you through that, because that is not to sound redundant, but that is a tough situation, and we all can understand that Christ really is that's our only way in anything, right? Good
right, right.
decisions, bad decisions, he's our strength. And I love hearing that you were able to rekindle and grow that relationship with him, for sure.
Yes, it's been a pretty crazy ride, but I'm here now, and I was able to, um, I'm able to share that relationship with my kids, and I was baptized my children, and I always think about my path and how I got here, and the crazy story it was, and a lot of things went right, in a way that during the bad time is, like I said, with my wife. And um, you know, my brother came up to the hospital when we lost the baby, and something he told me, he goes, I know you're hurting right now, but she needs you more than you need her right now, because I couldn't imagine, she's been through a lot more. She's through the physical, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
She's had the baby growing inside of her, and then it's all wiped away. And um, we were each other's rock. Like, and we would, when we got back to going, we like took a week off, and then we had to go back to work like normal life. And we would tell each other, I'm having a Daphne day. And we knew, hey, all right, if she told me I'm having a Daphne day, I knew that I had to be the rock that day. I had to hold her. I had to let her cry. I had, and then the next morning it might be my turn. Like, it was like that. Like, one day we might be fine, and then the next day I might wake up and tell my wife, "Hey, I'm having a Daphne day today. I might need to cry on your shoulder." And that's kind of what I mean by, like, I had the perfect partner to go through it with. And um, my wife is amazing. But
Yeah, it sounds like that. I like I like that you guys called it that, and it's almost like you should
yeah,
consider, like, perhaps starting a book, starting like a blog post, for others that might be going through something like that out there, and just title it Daphne Day,
all right,
and that and even though 12 years just doesn't quite seem long enough, right, to have lost somebody, but
right.
that's a tool that you guys could probably use to continue the healing that is probably going to be lifelong.
Oh yeah, and that's what I love about sharing stories, is that you hear someone that overcame something that you might be going through,
Mm-hmm.
and to know that you're not alone in it, and
That's
to
right.
know that there's others out there that have gone through the same thing. There's plenty of people that have lost a child.
Yeah.
Um, there's plenty of whatever whatever you're overcoming in life. There's plenty of people that have dealt with it and that have overcome it, and that are um, continue to succeed in
Mm-hmm.
life. And sometimes just hearing that and hearing those stories, and um, can uplift somebody. So that's why I love what you're doing. And I've been listening to some of your other podcasts, and so
Wow.
keep that up. I really like it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. More than you probably could really could know, honestly. But and I'm glad you wanted to come on, and I hope that you can come on again and tell us, any other story you want to talk about. You and your wife are more than welcome to come on. So I'm definitely open to it. But today's episode is definitely about you, Brian, and your journey. And the one thing that I do want to ask is, with your four other girls, do they know, and do they ask about their sister? And how, if they do, then how do you talk to them about her?
Yeah, they do know about her. We got her cremated because we didn't know. We knew we weren't going to be in Utah all the rest of our lives. So
Hmm.
um, we got her cremated. We have a little urn for her. We have a spot for her, and a picture of her and stuff. And yeah, we tell her about her. They know about their sister Daphne, and we tell her that, we tell them that she's too perfect for this world, and um, Heavenly Father needed her home. And they know about her, and um, they'll still ask questions every now and then about it.
Hmm.
But we'll celebrate her birthday each year, too. Still Daphne's birthday, and so she's still very much a big part of our lives. And um, yeah, and so Darla's my oldest that's here, but she knows that she has an older sister. But
I love that. I love that, Brian. That's absolutely the way to do it, right? Because she's still very much a part of you guys, and you just,
definitely.
yeah, you keep her keep her there, keep her right there in the forefront. So,
Right. Well, and something pretty crazy too,
mhm.
um, that happened when the night that my wife had to give birth to her. The sunset was beautiful. It was gorgeous.
Oh.
It was pink and violet skies. So every time we see we see a beautiful sunset with a pink sky, we think we say that night that Daphne painted the sky for us. So it's just every time we kind of see that, we're like, oh look, Daphne painted the sky for us tonight. So it's it's the little things in life that you
Yeah.
know you gotta find.
Yeah. Find that joy in it. Find that joy and
Right.
hold on to it. Well, Brian, when you said that I guess your goal in life was to be like an amazing dad. I can imagine that you've probably definitely achieved that. Because the love you've got for your kids, you can just hear it. You can
Yeah,
just hear
thank you,
it.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I said I was so tired earlier. We took him to a birthday party at the Urban Air. And
Oh
we were
goodness.
there for multiple hours and took them out to ride their bikes. And yeah, I had a good upbringing and
Hmm.
a good childhood, and my parents worked hard to give us everything we wanted and or needed or and you know it's weird. I don't know how to explain it. I just knew that was my calling. That I know I'm going to be a great father, and I try to be. It's more about spending time with them than you know spending money on them. It's about spending time with them and showing them you're there for them. And so I try to be a good father, but you know,
Human.
yeah, yeah. You're human. Sometimes you get frustrated or whatever, but
Of course.
I'd say I've done a pretty good job so far. So
I love that. Not to pat yourself on the back or anything.
far. Right, toot my own horn, but
That's so awesome. And I love really honestly what you said about it's not about spending money on your kids, because it's not, right? And you
right,
spending money on your kids, really, it's not teaching them like the fundamentals of life. It's not giving them those memories, aside from something that's short-lived because it's some sort of material thing. And the outdoors experience is, I think, no better a memory, no better
right.
memory. So you spend the time with them is great, and I definitely think you're doing a good job as a dad.
Well,
So
thank,
who's
thank you.
the you're very welcome, sir. Out of so of you and your wife, which of the two has to be the disciplinarian?
Oh man, I'm still disciplinarian. Even
Okay.
sometimes they're wrapped around my little finger, but no, they're still I'm still pretty much disciplinarian. My wife will be like, I'm gonna call dad, or wait till
Uh-oh.
dad comes home, or maybe But so I you know I and I still you know I gotta be right. I don't want to make
Yeah.
her be the bad guy all the time, so.
Yeah.
So she will if she needs to, but then if it's not if they're not listening to mom, she sends dad in, and I give my dad voice. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the way that it should be. That's the way I was definitely raised. It's the dad. He's gonna be the disciplinarian, and you're gonna do what both of your parents say for sure. Uh, but if the mom's got to call in the
right,
you already know what exactly it is that you should be doing. So that's funny.
that's right. And this, same way with me growing up. Mom to a certain point could spank us,
Hmm.
and then all right, well. I'm gonna wait till dad gets home, and then we're scared all the rest of the day, waiting until dad comes home because you knew you were gonna get it.
That's so funny. That's such a familiar story. I remember my mom. One time she had disciplined me because it just was. We I have other siblings, but we just weren't. We were good kids, and my dad's got a really like just powerful voice, and so we already understood what it was, and so if he wasn't there, we knew what we should have been doing. anyways.
Right.
And one
Right.
one time he so I did something, and I was probably like maybe like 8, and my dad couldn't be there, and so he was on the phone with my mom, and he said, you know what you have to do. And I can remember being like, no. So I was like, this is so terrible. But I remember, for some reason, I remember feeling bad that she had to discipline me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think I felt bad because I knew she felt bad, and uh, but I was like, yeah,
She's
it's gonna
like, do I
happen.
have to do this? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah, that was funny. So parenting is it's definitely tough, but I feel like discipline is a must. You
It's a
have to,
must.
yeah, it's a must for
You
sure.
know, and I know, I mean, spanking like is taboo now. I don't know. My
No.
kids, if they deserve a spanking, they deserve a spanking. I don't know. You
Right.
know, I don't go over the board with it, but
Mhm.
spanking and a timeout, and then when you cool off, you can come back out and try again. But
Right.
I got I got spankings. I don't know, and I turned out pretty good. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, we did too. So I think we'd be better off. And there was an episode before that we talked about like the whole disciplinary action, or not, well, not in school, so it wouldn't be action, but the whole disciplining, like in
Yeah.
parenting, it's so necessary. And I feel like we have to get back to that, because I think that we could see a lot better productive society if we could remember that it's needed, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole Bible, spare the rod, right? So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you've
It
got
definitely,
to do it. You have to do
definitely, and respect your elder.
it.
Respect other
Mhm.
people. Treat people how you want to be treated. All that.
Mm. Yes,
Um,
sir.
at the bare minimum. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, right. So how do you think, if you were somebody responsible for making those decisions, right? Of course, United States, this is definitely a free country. People are free to do whatever they please. But if you were in Congress and you were able to make those decisions for citizens of this country, how do you think you go about implementing something like that?
Oh, now you're asking the tough questions, huh? I don't know. I'm the world we live in is so crazy today. I'm for me, I'm all about live and let live. Like I'm gonna live the way I want, and you live the way you want, and I'm not gonna tell you it's wrong unless
Mhm.
you're obviously hurting other people. You know what I mean? Or you know, doing anything bad. But if and if I want to believe in God and you don't, then that's cool. Like I don't know why there's got to be any animosity, any in between
Yeah.
people like that. I would keep all, freedoms of speech. I would keep all that. I I don't know. I'm a Republican,
Mhm.
so I think that our rights are big. Human rights are big, and gun rights are big, and
Mhm.
freedom of speech. And I wouldn't, you know, have that be taken away. Like I hear they're trying to control guns and all that stuff, which I do think we need to have some more control on them.
Mhm.
But as far as I wish there was a be nice bill, but I don't think you can fit that in law. But it's just it's just I don't. I think one thing that's been lost is just because I don't agree with you and your opinion on whatever politics, religion, doesn't mean I hate you, right?
Right.
Doesn't mean we've got to fight and argue. It just means we have a different opinion.
Mhm.
And honestly, especially with religion, it's like
Mhm.
we won't know until we die. You know, that you won't know 100% until you die and you're facing God or whatever you believe in. But
Mhm.
so no, that's just people think nowadays that if you're Democrat and Republican, then you have to hate each other and there has to be a fight, and there doesn't. I don't understand that concept of it, and it seems like that's what's been being pushed um,
Mhm.
right now, and especially when election time comes, it seems like almost a divide in the country,
Mhm.
and that sucks. But
It does, and I think politics has definitely lost its art form, right? And that's probably the
Right.
wrong like choice of word, but when it used it to be in politics, it meant something, right? It was something that could be looked upon as something to be proud of. You were
Right.
revered almost like as a politician.
You
Although,
had the power to change the world for the
right,
good. And now I
exactly.
think it's whatever's going to line our pockets. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yes,
And I
yes.
don't honestly like Republican, Democrat, whatever. I just want what's best for the country, what's best
Yes.
for us, the people.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yep. And I think that's why it's also important for people to really open their eyes and to pay attention to what's going on. Watching, different news outlets, it is terrible, right? It is something that
terrible.
can be so depressing, but you do
Hmm.
have to be able to keep yourself abreast of whatever is going on out there, because if you don't, then you'll find yourself voting for the wrong candidate,
Right.
and you'll be looked you'll be looking at situations far worse than where we are
See,
now.
it's interesting because I used to never vote. I never cared about politics a couple years ago. I didn't care
Mm,
about it.
mm.
It is what it is. I'm going to pay the prices and do what I want. But I started look. I was going to go vote, and I was like, well, if I'm going to vote, I need to know why and what I'm voting for. And so a lot of people out there vote for they vote because they don't want someone in office. Does that make sense? They don't. A lot of people hate Donald Trump, right? And they voted for Biden
Right,
just because it wasn't Trump. But I'm like, well,
right.
if you wanted to vote for Biden, cool. If you actually believed in what he was teaching, like what he was about and what he's going to change, you had no idea. You just voted because you hated Trump. I don't I like to me that doesn't make any sense. If you're going to vote, please have an educated vote.
Yes, sir.
Vote for the change you want. Vote for, and look, I'm not saying Donald Trump is great, the greatest and a great character, but
Hmm.
when he was running the nation, it was pretty good. There was no inflation and life was going pretty good. I think we were all kind of striving as America.
Hmm.
Um, and now we seem to be struggling and high inflation and gas is almost back up to $4 a gallon. And it's just a struggle. I mean, but people would still rather vote for that than for Trump just because they hate Trump. I don't know. I don't know. It's so out of whack and weird, and it's not politics anymore.
No, it's not. It isn't. It's just basically a competition to see who can attain the most votes, but for no real reason. Like you're saying, like we're just people are just out there voting just to keep somebody else from getting into office, and without any knowledge of what that candidate is offering. Right? There's no background about these people, and if you just kind of observe and see the things that lead up to election day, then you'll have a little bit better idea about who this candidate is. Now, are they honest people? No, they're not. Like that's been since
Yeah,
you know
yeah, yeah. What
way before.
politician's honest anymore? Yeah, I mean,
You're right. But you like how you're saying, you do have to you have to know what you're voting for, and don't make it such an emotional decision.
right,
Yeah, it's gotta be what's best for the country.
definitely. Yeah, it's funny because that this turned into a turned into a politics.
So it so
That's
did, and I don't even know. Because we were talking about like discipline, so it did
yeah,
it
yeah.
did turn to there. So I guess we can kind of circle back to that, but
It's okay. I'm a talker, so it's fine.
oh, that's so awesome.
I'm very
But
social. My
I
wife's I'm the social butterfly, and my wife likes to stay at home and not antisocial, but she has her she calls it her kind of like her social battery or whatever. She's like, okay, I got to be away from people. I need to be, you know, at home. So, but
I can totally understand that. I can totally understand that. But so but like the whole discipline thing, and trying to make it a mandate, like realistically, like we know that's not going to happen. It can't happen, and then you'll have a complete I don't know if the words, I don't want to say mutiny, but there would be there would be such a force in this country if any anybody in office try to tell somebody else how to parent their kids, which I think you're kind of already seeing that now. And we're not going to get into it, but there are some things that's going on in this country with our libraries and the education system
Oh.
where those, yeah, they are trying to have a little bit more of an influence than they need to.
Hmm.
But so again, we have
That's
to
a
just
whole
be
nother.
aware.
That's a whole nother podcast. I could talk.
Yes, it is.
Whole
Yes, it
nother
is.
episode.
It was a whole another episode. So it just goes back to just knowing what those agendas are, and
Right.
have to just stay very much involved, especially like in your own community. And hopefully we'll wake up. We'll see about
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah. That's
Brian,
my. Oh, that's speaking of that. Is just it's just sad that we have to feel like we have to teach our kids
hmm
a lot more nowadays. A lot more. Um, I don't know. Like some of the stuff that they teach in schools, and I don't think here in Texas it's that bad yet.
hmm
Um, but some of the stuff they teach in school is not correct. Um, they try and change history sometimes. And I'm like, that's
right.
not what happened. Like you can't cover up our history and pretend it didn't happen.
hmm
You teach them about it, and so we don't repeat it again. And but I don't want to go too far. But
Yeah, that's an open field, for sure,
all right,
for certain.
I do have an interesting question for you. Um, would you like would you give up your childhood to have your kids born in your childhood? If that makes sense. Which
Absolutely,
means you would
I
need to
would.
be born earlier to have kids. And I'm like, man, that's a tough question because my childhood was great. Growing up in the '90s was the best time ever. It's the best era ever. I mean, I loved it. And I'm like, it was so much an even easier time. And
Mhm.
I'm like, man, that's
Yeah,
a tough
I give it
question.
up.
You'd give it up.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, it might.
Yep.
That's a tough one, but I might have to as well because I
Yeah.
don't know. We were the generation that stayed outside till the porch light came on. You know what I mean? It was
I
great.
do.
It's
I
great.
do. Yep. And I think the reason why I was able to answer that question before I let you finish is because like we have already experienced it, right? And so it's
Right.
something that I I I think about often, and I just say to myself, wow, like I would hate for them to, not exist or anything like that, but if they had to go back and live in any other generation or any other year or decade, it would definitely be that time, because I think now, and I watch them play and do all the things that they do, and I'm just like, wow, like if you only knew, if you
Right.
only experienced
Right.
just a little bit of what we did. And I can definitely applaud my siblings and my and and their spouses, and I can say that they grew up in that same time and they understand it, right? So you
Right.
see that they are implementing the same type of raising, the same type of childhood that we had, and
That's
their
great.
kids, yeah, yeah, and so their kids are definitely getting to experience it in the present, because you can't obviously go
Right.
back, but yeah, they're doing a lot of the stuff that we did growing up, so it was
That's good.
impactful.
I try and do that with the kids. It's it's kind of tough in Texas summer when it's 120 degrees outside, and the kids don't want to go outside. I'm like, well, I can't blame you on this one. Uh, so, but we're actually my oldest daughter is going to middle school next year,
Mhm,
and I didn't get a cell phone until I started playing sports and in
mhm,
middle school, almost high school, and we're talking about getting her a cell phone next year because she's going to be in a different school by herself, and and but I'm like, no social media. Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
Social
Mm-hmm.
media is something that kids shouldn't have.
Yes, agreed. Agreed. And that's something that I was going to say. Also, if you do make the decision to do that, you gonna have to have every single parental guidance on there, alerts.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, yes,
I
because
want her to be able to call and text.
right,
And that is
yeah,
it. Not That's the only two things.
yeah.
Um, Actually, I was like, I don't even want it to have internet, but I think that 360 app needs to have internet to track. So I guess,
Mm,
you know what I mean? That Life 360 where you can see where they're at.
right.
But
Yeah,
but
yeah, wow. But yeah, I think I think that it wouldn't be a bad idea for her to have that, and just just keep because you don't want to you don't want to create another worry. So just those
right.
little things, because people are strange out there and they're doing all sorts of things. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that's an understatement there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Ryan, so in your experience with Daphne, what do you wow, no, this is a tough question, okay? But
Okay, thanks for the warning.
because it's kind of like I almost don't want to ask it because it's just gonna it's really it's very silly, so I won't ask that question. But I will ask you, having
Feel free to ask.
experienced well, okay,
It's okay.
okay.
It's okay. Feel free.
Well, what do you what would you have changed about what you guys went through with the baby?
Hmm. Well, I think some counseling for us would have been good. Um, Going through that time, we've kind of just leaned on each other, and my wife said it too. Is maybe we should have gone through some not marriage counseling, but just like grief counseling.
Mm,
Um, would have helped us a little bit. Um, but as the whole experience, the hospital was fantastic. We were able to they took we were able to go. I went home and got some clothes for her, and we were able to do a little photo shoot for free, and we got little handprints and footprints and molds made, and they let us hold her for because when we went to the hospital, it was like 8 in the morning, and then they had to start her to dilate because she's at a zero because we're not supposed to have the baby yet.
right.
So she didn't give birth until like 4 a.m. the next morning.
Mm,
And then we were able to hold the baby until like 10 o'clock that night.
mm,
Um, so like the hospital's great. We were able to hold her for a long time. And I really, as hard as it was, I love that time that we were able to hold her. And her, like, when we found out we lost the baby, we made the phone calls, and that gave my family some time to come and her family some time to come, and they got to hold her. And um,
hmm.
but the uh, sorry,
Yeah,
the toughest thing I ever did was walk her down uh, uh, to the guy who was going to take her and cremate her. I
mhm,
wanted to just to take her home,
yeah,
I wanted to put her in the bag and take her home. And I know it sounds weird because, but so, but I don't, going through that, I think that we would have gone through some counseling. Um, and I think it would have been better if I leaned on God then instead of turned my shoulder back on him. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Um, that's what he's there for. And there's that saying that God won't give you anything that you can't handle. But I think it should say God doesn't give you anything you can't handle through Him. Right? He wants us
yeah,
to go to Him
mhm,
with our trials, especially our trials.
mhm,
Um, And I think if I could change anything in that time, it would have been that, where I would have gone to him and for comfort, and then some counseling, some grief counseling for both of us would have probably helped out a lot. So those are the two things I would change, about the going through that.
Okay. Those are some really good answers. It did. Yeah. Wow. Okay. I'm glad you were able to answer that because I was like I kept like thinking over and over. I'm like I don't know like how to ask that question or if I should be asking it. So I definitely appreciate your openness.
Oh yeah, I'm an open book. But yeah, any questions, ask. I'll do my best to answer them. But
Wow. Yeah, I appreciate that. That is just lost for words. You know.
if sharing my story helps just one person, then I've done my job, and so have you. And so that's why I was like, I told Alex, I was like, I need to get on here and share it. So
Yeah, I appreciate it. And when when we were in communication, I was like, okay, it was exciting because like I never knew what you were talking about because we did disclose that, and so
right,
I was like,
right,
all right, what's he talking about? And which
it's,
is really honestly the way I prefer it, so
right.
I can just hear you guys. But Brian, is there anything in addition to your story that you'd like to share? Anything that you'd like to maybe add, or any other piece of hope, I guess you could share with anyone?
Hope. Yeah. Um, I don't know. I got a lot of things, and um, that I wish I could go be a motivational speaker, but
Mm.
um, no, it's just that if I had to say something about anything, it would be, you never know what someone's going through in life. So be kind, be nice. Don't judge others. Don't be so quick to judge others. And it's okay. It's okay to have a bad day. Um, it's okay for men to cry. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
I still have, and to this day, I still have, I'll have a Daphne day where I'm like, damn, I miss her, and I'll cry, and my wife understands.
Mhm.
Get you a great partner in life. It'll make it a lot better. I promise you that. No, I don't know. I have so many, just, stop and smell the roses. All these little sayings that get me through, and it's not as Alex would say, it's not a bad life, it's just a bad day.
Yes.
Um, but try and be positive. Try and stay positive, and don't lose hope, because once you lose hope, then
Mhm.
it's hell getting it back, and you don't want to live life being miserable. It's too short.
Yes,
Too
sir.
short.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So short. Well, Brian, it has been a real pleasure having you on. I appreciate you being able to tell your story. I appreciate the emotions you allowed us to experience in telling your story, and most of all, I appreciate you being able to get back your relationship with Christ, and then to let the men out there know that it is okay to cry. It's okay. It's
Yes.
okay, and I
Yes.
definitely appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. I do want to plug something, if I can, if you may. I do have a podcast. It's called the Sportscast. Um, it's about sports, if you like sports. And then I'm starting another one called the Dad Bod Podcast.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so the first one is Sportscast.
yeah, it's the Sportcast. It's the Sportscast, and we say brought to you by the Outspoken Network. My YouTube
Okay.
channel is the Outspoken Network,
Okay.
and then
It's
we have, it's kind of like an umbrella, like the Sportscast falls under it, and then the Dad Bod Podcast, and we did it that way. So, like, the Sportscast is just talking about sports, and then I have another podcast where I can talk about life. I can talk, different things like that. I haven't started it yet, but I wanted an outlet where I could talk about being a father. I could talk about
Ooh.
being, a man or whatever. And my buddy, my good friend's going to join on. I'm going to have other friends come on and tell their stories. And so just about other things. So,
Yeah.
plug those two things. We live stream on YouTube, and and then you can find us on all the podcast platforms. But
Okay. So you're talking about just the entire world of streaming services, I guess, right? So like Apple
pretty
Podcasts.
much like we're on Google, we're on Spotify, we're on iHeartRadio, we're on YouTube, the channel, YouTube, like the videos there. I mean, anything you name it, we're pretty much on it. And
Okay.
then we pay them, and then they spread it around to all the major. We're an Apple,
Okay.
whatever. But
Okay. So can you just repeat the names of the two first again, please?
it's the Outspoken Network, and then it's called the Sportscast. It's
Okay.
kind of confusing, I know. And then I'm starting a new one called the Dad Bod Podcast.
Okay.
So
When can we look for that to be out?
hopefully next month.
Okay.
Hopefully next month. So my buddy Jeff, he is a graphic designer, so he does all my graphic works for free, which is awesome.
Yes, it is.
So that's pretty sweet. He's a host on the Sportscast as well. So
Okay.
it works out there. But so yeah, and I do it. I do the podcast just for fun. It's just a hobby
Sure.
that I love, and
Yeah.
so
What
I'm guessing you the same.
Yeah, yes. This is something that I mean, this is very new for me, and it's something that I do enjoy doing, and I just like for people just to be able to, I'm not a therapist, okay? It's not a secret. I'm not licensed in this at all, okay?
Right.
But
How much am I being charged for this? Gonna send me a bill in the mail. No.
but I just it was just something that I really felt compelled to do, and I'm just glad that I got the opportunity to be able to do it, and I'm glad that people are open to it and are willing to do it. So for however long you guys are wanting to do it, I'm going to continue it on. So and I hope that you'll do the same. And what days do you release your episodes so people can know to look out for those?
It's usually Friday evenings. During football, we do twice a week because there's so
Ooh,
much
wow.
stuff. When football goes on a break, we kind of do one a week.
Okay.
And then the Dad Bod podcast it'll probably be once a month for now until when I get it going, just one episode a month, and then go from there. But
I love that guy. I love that concept. Dad bod.
the Dad Bod podcast.
Oh, that's pretty funny. All right, Brian. Hey, Brian. Well, I'm gonna have to totally edit that part out. I don't know what I was trying to say.
You're good. I do that all the time. Do it all the time.
Goodness. Hey guys, this has been the Blind Impact. Today's guest has been Brian. And Brian, definitely again, thank you for coming onto the show. And you are more than welcome to come back at any time, sir. We'll talk to you or see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of The Blind Impact. If you like the show, please rate, subscribe, review, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. If you have a story you'd like to tell, please email me at theblindImpact@gmail.com. Or if you have a story you'd like to have read here by me, please include those details in the email or the voice message. Thank y'all, and remember, it's not always tragic.